Welcome back, everyone, to JFace Games. What we're talking about today is character creation. In essence, I want to do a recap video. We've been talking about all kinds of different concepts for a while now, and there were some people that posted in the comments that they were hoping that there was some sort of summary. So I'm going to do two summary videos of what we have so far. The first one is character creation. The second one is going to be on what we have so far for encounters, mainly from the player's side of things. So to give you an idea of what you can do as a player in combat or in an encounter. So to begin, here we are. We want to create a character. So when you're first starting your character creation, you have soul points, and soul points is a currency of sorts. And we don't have a specific number yet, but you're going to have a lump sum of soul points that you're going to be able to spend on your character to customize them however you want, a la something like Skyrim or Elder Scrolls. The first thing you could spend your soul points on are your attributes. So your attributes are Defender, Striker, Controller, Leader, and then Magic. What these attributes are going to be able to do is they're going to, one, each one of these attributes does something for you in combat or in action. It defines what you're able to do. If I'm going to try to be a little bit more of a tanky type person, I want to get defending. If I want to be more of a roguish ranger, do lots of damage, striking. If I want to control the battlefield, controller, and then leader if I want to heal or inspire others or move my team around the battlefield, that might be more of a leadership role, right? So I'm going to then spend some of my soul points to change the type of die that I'm going to have in each one of these. Obviously, if I want to get a higher up to a D8 or a D10, it's going to cost, or a D12, it's going to cost a lot more soul points to do so. Versus a D4 is not going to cost that much at all. These attributes are also going to, well, we'll get to that in a second. So that's the first thing you can spend soul points on. The next thing is your background. So your backgrounds, which is in essence going to be like your skill checks, is going to be very much like 13th Age in the sense that you're going to come up with your own backgrounds, labels, whatever you want. This person here he was a tribal guard, he was a hunter, and then he was also a farmer. When it comes to how many points I'm going to spend in those, I can use soul points to level those up. So he was a 1 in tribal guard, so he didn't do very long, and he wasn't a very good farmer, but he was a really good hunter, right? There would be a cap to the number here based on your level of what you could get to. But in essence, this means that if I ever have to make a skill check, if I think that my background as being a hunter is relevant to that, I would be getting a +3 to that skill check for whatever it is. Versus if I were a tribal guardsman, I'd be getting a +1. So I would base it off of my background, and you'd have to RP to give an idea as to why that background suits that sort of scenario. So background's the second thing you could spend your soul points on. The third thing you can spend your soul points on is your health, right? So you're going to define how you deal with trauma and stress. There are 3 categories of trauma or stress. There's major trauma, minor trauma, and then stress itself. I would spend soul points to buy slots in those different tiers. All right, there's a video, the Power and Health video 2.0 that describes these in a little more detail. But the idea being that now I have these different slots, right? The major slots being a lot more expensive to purchase than the minor being more expensive than the stress, etc. Once I've purchased those, I then can also spend my soul points on my actual powers. Now the powers are going to be involved in sort of like a tech tree of sorts, and those tech trees, how far you can go up different lines in that tech tree, are going to be based off of the dice you've chosen for your attributes. Cleave is probably going to be a striking ability, so it's maybe if it's a basic striking ability, so maybe it's like if you got a striking d6, you can do cleave. Axe proficiency, that's probably, you're going to have proficiencies in this system that are not going to be relevant to the specific attributes. So it might be just that axe proficiency or different weapon proficiencies are just something you take. It just costs soul points to do. Defend the weak would obviously be something that you'd have to have a defender. And then leave me, I've got this. Once again, that's probably a defender dice, right? That depending on where you are in that chain, it then allows you to do that. So you can use soul points to then purchase your powers, which would be in some form of a tech tree. Finally, after you've spent it on those 4 different things, whatever soul points you have left become your spark points. Your spark points are what you're going to be using in combat to do a bunch of different things. They're going to be used to power or fuel your powers so that you can actually use them. They're going to be used to apply effort to all sorts of rolls to give you little pluses, which is similar to the Cypher system in effort, right? So now we're going to more detail of those when we get into the combat and how you actually use your character. So this ends up being sort of what a character, and this is a very rudimentary character sheet, so hopefully I'd have someone who's got good design skills and could help me do something like Mothership. But in essence, this is what might be on your character sheet. You might have, I've got my background, and this defines sort of where this character's come from. That D20 there is because the background skill checks are just going to be D20s plus whatever your stats are there. I've got my attribute abilities in the bottom left that define how I'm going to be using this character to some degree in combat. I've got on the top right my actual health via traumas and stresses. I have my powers, and then on the bottom right there you can see that I have the how much spark I have left, how much effort I can use, and then what my grit level is. Those will be defined more in the next combat video, or you can always go to the Notion page that currently has the rules laid out under the player character rules. So there you have it. Hopefully this gives a little bit of an idea more on where we're going in terms of what character design and creation would feel like. In terms of how many points you start and how much things cost, we don't know that yet. That's going to come from beta testing. So we'll get there hopefully eventually. All right, guys, thanks.